We're here.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the very first Better Politics Day. We are your MCs for today. I'm Kimberly, the Chief Operating Officer of the Better Politics Foundation.
And I'm Suki, the Chief Strategy Officer at the Better Politics Foundation. And we are here today to make sure you know what's happening, when it's happening, and of course, why you shouldn't sneak out too early. Yes. Well, the goals of today are simple. We want to connect, we want to inspire, we want to be inspired, but of course, most and for all, we want to learn from each other. And also, hopefully, we want to make sure, we want to prove that politics can be fun at least one day a year.
Just today. So today is part of Better Politics Week, and we're hosting this during Berlin Freedom Week, which is the new citywide initiative for freedom and democracy. So the fall of the Berlin Wall on the 9th of November 1989 stands as a global symbol of the courage that people showed in the face of oppression. It was a true triumph of democracy. And the theme for Better Politics Week this year is Where Courage Meets Change.
Yes, and honestly, this is why this room is here today. All the work that each of you are doing is inspiring, is hard, and we know it takes a lot of courage to actually move the dial. So today is about finding joy, finding connection in this hard work, but also building each other up so we can continue to actually make that change. And we've got an excellent lineup today. Big name speakers, bright ideas. We're going to have interactive sessions, some surprises. And you'll find the agenda through the QR code on your badge. If you look at your badge, behind it, there's a QR code. Yes. Scan it, save it. You can pretend you've read it. But we'll do a run-through of the highlights now, Kim. So we have amazing keynote speeches through the day. So, for example, Namatai Kwekfesa, founder and executive director of We Lead Africa. We're going to have Leopoldo Lopez, the Secretary General of the World Liberty Congress, X. And Damien Böselager, member of the European Parliament.
And later on, I'm very excited to announce that we're going to be launching the first Better Politics Index. And you all here today will be the first to hear the data and insights.
That's right. And also, excitingly, we're going to have a panel on the politics of my country. And by my country, I mean Germany. Yes, I'm German. Yes, I'm German too. Yes. Very exciting. Yes, brace yourself. Also, after the break, one very special moment, we're going to celebrate our global political leadership entrepreneurs. We're going to have the awards this year, 2025 awards.
I can't wait for that. And then we're going to be closing the day with a debate on whether political parties help or hurt democracy. It's going to be deep, it's going to be hard-hitting, and it's going to be funny. And you all in the audience get to decide the winner. So this is your chance to make like a Westminster MP and boo and cheer and say some hears and hiss and clap. So get ready for it.
Yes. And then, of course, a proper Berlin party. We're going to have music, drinks, and a DJ. And no, it's not an intern with a Spotify list. We actually have a DJ. We're going to have the one and only DJ Hazy Pockets. Yeah.
Now, before we start, we want to express our gratitude to you. Thank you for giving us your time today, your ideas, your energy. We're joined by a heady mix of political leadership entrepreneurs and innovators, of current, former, and aspiring political leaders, funders, philanthropists. We've got academics, we've got students, activists, and movement builders.
Yes, and can I just say, Kim, a lot of people traveled a lot to be here today. So I meant to say, we looked it up. The furthest, where's Leisha? 15,000 kilometers all the way from Australia.
Australia, yes.
Yes. We have others from the Americas, who's coming from North America, Latin America.
Whoa, a whole bunch here, hanging out together.
Yeah, what about Africa?
Yes.
There you go.
Namatai representing.
Yes. Asia. Nice. Thank you.
And of course, we have a lot of people from Berlin here today. Congratulations on making it here through the U-Bahn Ersatzverkehr and still arriving on time.
That's right. Yes. And friendly reminder, please feel free to post about the event, obviously. You can tag the Better Politics Foundation. You can use, you see the hashtags there. You can use Better Politics Day or Better Politics Week, although, Kim, is anyone using hashtags anymore?
I have no idea, I'm too old to know those things. But we will be using Mentimeter today. We're going to start with a practice question, so you can all get involved. So scan the barcode on the back of your name tag. It's the one with the blue and the pink.
The second.
In the middle. We're going to ask you a question, and that is on the scale of 1 to 5, how are you feeling about politics today? And this can be in your country, around the world, it doesn't matter, you choose. 1 is, it's so bad I just want to get into my bed and never leave. 5 is, everything's perfect, I live in a utopia, we'll all move there. So let us know.
Let's see. Okay, exciting.
The suspense.
Oh.
Oh.
Actually, it's better than I thought.
Oh, God. We have got some work to do today, I think, to bring that number up by the end of the day. Okay.
One more thing. Keep that browser open. We will ask you to use Mentimeter again, so just...
Now, to kick things off properly, please welcome to the stage the person who has been making Better Politics her full-time job for the last 25 years, whose own children's nickname for her is Thunderjoy, and who is our inspiration and our hype girl.
Our very own Better Politics Foundation co-founder, CEO, and dear friend, Lisa Witter.
Don't I work with cool people? Huh? It's really good. I have to say, though, Suki, I know you are German, but your Bolivian Latina side, this was the quietest I've ever heard Latinos in ever. What is that about? Okay, prove me wrong later. So politics, as you know, as we saw, the number around 2.4 can be quite stormy. And I think you're all here because you want to get to the sunrise of how we can make politics better. So I'm going to start us off. Everyone stand up. And what we're going to do is you're going to need to put your stuff down, so you need both hands. And we are going to bring the rain in and the thunder so that when I leave you today, you're going to feel a little sun. So let's start off with a little rain. Does anyone know the word? Sorry, this isn't English, but with the word where, it's quite a particular word, where the smell of the rain hits the dirt? It's called petrichor in English. It's one of my favorite. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. We love the rain. And it gets a little bit more. You can look around and see who else is in the room, who's in the storm, that also can bring regeneration. And then here comes the... And it gets a little louder. And then it starts to thunder. And then slowly put your arms out. And on the count of 3, we're going to clap. 1, 2, 3.
I love it.
Yeah, go ahead, sit down. She loves it. Now, why do you love it? Actually, you love it because, go ahead, you can sit down. Because behavioral science says that when you do things together, it creates a sense of awe. Now, imagine what politics would be like if we had a sense of awe. I've had a sense of awe in politics in my life. Raise your hand if you've had a sense of awe in politics in your life. It's not elusive. We can do it. So I want to go back a little bit to go forward. So around 10 years ago, I co-founded a company named Apolitical with Robin Scott. She's very sorry she cannot be here. And when we started that company, we thought about democracy as a flywheel, where the people become the politicians in democracies and give input into what politics should be, that then feed government, the civil servants, who then, in an effective democracy, the people are a part of implementing an agenda. And this is the flywheel that needs to work. Now, the company is 10 years old. At the time I started the company was around the same time that Hoi Rusten, the Swedish program, started, and Daniel called and said, hey, would you help set up one of these programs? Daniel was really thinking about how to take the youth energy in Sweden and move it from just voting to actually participating in the process. And I said yes, and that's where I met Paul Alcorn, who they are two very important people to me. And 5 years later, the Daniel Sachs Foundation. Daniel and Paul, can you just stand up briefly? Yeah, you can give them a round of applause. No one does anything alone, right? It's always with others. where we decided 5 years ago, I moved over to the foundation to really say we can't have a functioning democracy. It's not enough to have governments that work. We need politics to work. And this came from a deep conviction that I had when I came home after university. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, which is why I love the rain. And I noticed that my political party was good at training people to get elected, but not so great at teaching people how to govern and how to be transformational leaders. So 5 years on, I want to give you some lessons about what we've been doing. So about 5 years ago, when we started in, we were going to just do what reflexes do. We're just going to start doing things, which is good. But then we stopped, hey, let's step back and understand, is there a field? What is the state of field looking to update politics for the 21st century? And Goran, is Goran here? Is Goran in the room? Goran, I was talking to Goran about this, and he said, hey, this is really important, and funded us to do a report called Better Leaders, Better Democracies. Thank you, Goran, for believing in that. So we identified a field of people making politics, particularly political leadership, better. Then we studied it, and then we named it. Really important in building movements, right? Coming up with names of things that didn't necessarily exist in a system. Then we grew it through our accelerator. Raise your hand if you've been part of the Better Politics accelerator in some way. Yeah, we do it all together. Then we convened it. So this is our second convening here. Then we innovated through it, which I'll talk a little bit about. And this year we're very happy. Where's Gowri? Is Gowri in the room? She's up front. There she is. Go ahead and stand up. Gowri, in a partnership with Daniel and Paul, had Multitudes Foundation, which Gowri came and said, look, with the situation we have in government and politics, we don't need to do, hi Mariette, we don't need to do this on our own. What if we join forces and have even a bigger vision? And so really excited that the 5 years has brought us to the most important thing we can be doing is figuring out how to continue to resource and have more resources to the field while we do all the other things and learn from one another. So I was asked to give 5 insights about what we've learned in these 5 years. There's a zillion insights. We made a lot of mistakes. But I'll tell you 5 that I want you thinking about through this day and for the rest of us through this week. So first is politics really broken, or is it just badly led and poorly funded? And when I mean poorly funded, I don't mean just funding candidates. I mean thinking about the whole ecosystem of how we do our work. Is it broken, or do we have leaders that we do not trust? Second, the leadership life cycle we forgot to design. So I started working in politics 30 years ago, where I realized we were doing a lot of work on the pipeline, getting new people into the system. But then you realized, well, number one, maybe we're screening the wrong people in. You know, the people who always raise their hand and say, I want to be a politician? Sometimes those are the wrong people. Jacinda Ardern, has anyone read her new book? She says that the best politicians are often the ones who are reluctant, who have to be recruited from communities. So we got better at trying to understand how to screen and then not just get them elected, but how do you support them once they're in? 99% of politicians, even political parties, don't train for governance and policymaking, which is why I do politics, to make the world a better place, to have policy. And then how do we help them leave? So having a much more holistic view is important for political leadership to work. I'm very happy to be here with members of the L Hub, where we're testing in Bangladesh and Brazil. If you have this ecosystem working, both with political parties and outside the system, will we get more trusted political leadership? Number 3, political parties, they're an old technology and they need to be updated. If politics is 18th century, so are our political parties. That debate's going to play out here today. Number 4, safety and well-being of politicians. Super important for the democratic infrastructure. If they're not well, our systems aren't well, and more importantly, people are dropping out or not wanting to go into politics because 80% of women in politics get death threats, and I had a friend murdered, and many people have. So unless we do not have safe politics, we will not have effective politics. And number 5, the builders are here. Some of them are in this room. All of you are builders in some way, but there are countless others, and we just need to lift them up and support them. So what I want to do for next time together is I want to interact with you, and I want to leave you with this bonus before we do. So you talked about hope. It's really important to our work. And the way we think about hope isn't just something you sit around and do or think, it's action. And all of you, by being here today, are what we call hard hopers, like doing the hard work of staying curious. And we need this hope to bridge the horizons that we are seeing in politics today. Has anyone heard of the 3 horizons theory? Anyone? For the nerds? Oh, I really like nerds there. So in the 3 horizons, there are people who are working on within the system that exists today, right? Current campaigns, current legislative cycles, they're working really to make sure that day-to-day politics is delivering as much as we can. But we know that citizens' expectations have changed, and we have kind of old methods of doing things. So this system may be finding its way out. There may be a fight as it goes down, and then we see the innovators towards a new future. Anyone in the Citizens Assembly working on Citizens Assembly work or new forms of citizen engagement? A lot of these people, right, they're kind of coming up and matching that. We give awards to this Democracy Hall of Fame. Hello, Janani. Where the sort of politics of now with new or very old methods just being done again are coming up. And then there are people like dreaming ahead of a viable future. And so as we think through today, many of us may be only working in one space, or maybe many of us are working across it, but we cannot have a future that works for all of us unless we make sure the new is working, make sure the existing is working, we're bringing in the innovation, and we're dreaming about something that maybe is even better or more fit for the 22nd century, for the century that I hope my kids and grandkids and your grandkids, people you love, are in. So with that, we asked you when you registered what better politics meant to you. I'm going to give you a moment, a chance to talk about that. But when we asked, this is the very busy word cloud, which I think is a really good representation that there's no one thing that better politics is, right? It's different for different people. But I will say what came across in this group was inclusion, integrity, people-centered. Those pieces were really, really important to you all. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like this side of the room to stand up. I'd like my team to get lined up in the middle and form a wall. And I'd like this team to face the dark side. Spread all the way down. This side of the room, you need to stay entirely quiet. You're not allowed to say what better politics means. Ideally, if I could control you, you wouldn't have an opinion. And if I can see you talking, they're going to ask you to be quiet. Okay? This side, find a person that you like, a new person, introduce yourself, and talk about what better politics means to you. Go. Robin and Daniel and Namatai. Hi, Stefan. Could I get your attention up here? Andre? Everybody hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Just to be quiet. There's no question, just a demand, a request. Okay, you guys can go take your seats. So that was pretty obvious. What just happened? Yeah?
Well, you were keep sitting still as well. All over the people for no reason, without being asked.
Where courage meets change, right? But what if a few defectors, raised your hand if you defected, a few of you. Now, when I moved to Berlin 14 years ago, we live near Mauerpark, for the Berliners who know, which means the wall park. And I live right near the park where you can see the zone where there's barbed wires and where people jumped out of windows and went under tunnels. And people were shot for trying to escape, trying to walk to the other side. Now, I decided to do this with you not to be torturous, but because my children, Bruno and Otto, now 16 and 18, in their school, they had a day where half of the class was told to be quiet and read their books, old books, and they could, go to the bathroom. This half of the class, they got to do interactive learning, they got to eat sweets, and the other side had to watch them. As I took my kids for a walk with our dog, Bowie, through what used to be the zone where if we were in, we would be shot, the kids were like, that's pretty messed up. I know how that might feel in that moment. And Leopoldo, I'm partially standing here today in this week because of you. Because of the bravery of people who, when the wall goes up, they figure out how to work their way around, and at great cost. And this is an homage to freedom, to what's in front of us. Politics isn't a game. It's at stakes for our freedom. And when the wall gets put up, what side will we stay on, be on? I think that is the question for a Better Politics Day. So Leopoldo, thank you and the World Liberty Congress for having Berlin Freedom Week remind us this isn't just about more deductions on our taxes and free education. It's fundamentally, can we talk to the people we love? Can we have an opinion? Fundamental. Okay. Less serious. Now, what I want you to do is, inside of your bags, there are personas. We couldn't represent everyone in the room today. Here, there's a persona, and at the top, you're going to find another person. You can move around the room if you want. The wall's gone, freedom rings. The wall's gone, freedom rings. And find your persona, find a person with a different persona, and exchange your personas. There's a question for you at the bottom. What do they need to be resourced? Get in the shoes of someone else. Okay? So read, stand up, and meet a new person. And I'll give you about 5 minutes. Go. Thank you, Hussam. Thank you, Namatai. Thank you, Paul and Robin. Hi, Thomas and Emily. Hi. Okay, I want 2 people to nominate themselves for the most interesting conversation on this topic. Don't be shy. Who had a conversation that you want to share the highlights with? And if not, I call on people. Yeah, right up front here. Say who you are, where you're from, and who your people were.
Hi, my name is Kazuna. I am from Japan, but I'm based here in Berlin.
My people was Marcus, a minister in his 3rd term from the UK, appointed as Minister of Social Cohesion in 2023. Challenge is combating rising polarization and online hate. Opportunity is pioneering evidence-based community renewal programs. For him, Better Politics means disagreement handled with dignity. In terms of leadership... Go ahead, look at the audience and flip to me. In terms of leadership traits, something that I mentioned was one is emotional intelligence. I do believe that in rising polarization, sometimes it's really hard for people to relate to other people. And today I actually just read an article, I think was co-published by the Hertie School, about how the rise of far right is sometimes they can get much more sympathy because it is easier if you can relate to other people, if you have that emotional sort of emotional intelligence of listening and relating to people. That is how a lot of times the extreme far right is able to get people to lean on their side. So I do believe that in times of rising polarization and also people just feeling like they're not heard or they're scared, I think that emotional intelligence of being able to relate, being able to listen, and being able to allow people to feel heard is very important. But I also believe that critical thinking skills is also very important because I think with the rise of polarization, there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of information that is said in a way to manipulate people, which means that I think critical thinking, logical thinking, and the ability to break down arguments, but maintaining that emotional side of being a person, allowing the other person to feel heard is very important in order to be a good leader.
Great, give a round of applause.
Beck, could you run the mic to Lior, who isn't expecting this? Lior, could you just talk about your book? So I'm obsessed with, and have been for a very long time, about the role that brain, behavioral science, neurobiology, I read a Substack around this stuff, sorry to give a plug, but but it's important to understand how the brain works, right? The brain is the brain. It hasn't changed a lot in 200 years. Things are changing our brain and how we react, technology. But Lior, will you talk a little bit, just give us 2 minutes about what your book is and why it's relevant to this audience?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lior Smigrod, and I'm a political psychologist and neuroscientist. I just gave a copy of my book to my new friend from the conversation. So it's called The Ideological Brain. I know there's an international audience, so I can say it's been translated into over 15 languages, so it is available probably in most of the languages spoken here today. And it's about my own research that looks at what makes brains susceptible to extreme ideological narratives, closed visions of life. And what we find is that really the brain that is most drawn to authoritarian, closed ways of thinking is a brain that's changed not just in its political beliefs, but in its brain structure, in its psychology, in even its emotion, its physical expressions. And so what we find is that the ideologies that we believe in go into our bodies, they go into our brains. And so as political leaders or as those who support political leadership, it's essential to think about how do we fight the misinformation, propaganda, the ideologies that are trying to close us down, and substitute that with different visions that I think are anti-ideological, that try to go against dogmas. And that doesn't always mean fighting one ideology with its exact opposite. It's about finding that balance, that flexibility, that strength to oppose those ideologies, but with strength, right? Because now a lot of the times it feels like we're fighting huge systems with weak tools, or with tools that easily collapse, because broadly liberal ideas tend to collapse onto themselves with their tolerance. And so how do we offer a vision of life that young people, that people of every kind of context can relate to, but that is anti-ideological and still powerful? So in the book I explore the neuroscience experiments that I've done, those that other people are doing, to show what it is about the brain that we can harness. Because we often talk, when we talk about the brain, we hear, oh, the brain is so flawed, it believes in so much misinformation, feels like we all have terrible brains in our heads. But actually, the brain is also a fantastic, powerful tool that if we just harness in the right way, we can encourage to nurture that flexibility, that tolerance from everyone. So this is such an exciting platform for us to brainstorm those ideas, to bring in the evidence, the science, with the practical policy application. So wonderful to meet everyone. I'm looking forward to the conversations today.
Thank you, Laura.
Could I run the mic up? And this is all spontaneous, so thanks to all my friends for not hating me. Ed Brooks, I'm going to just put you on the spot for one moment. If you could, Beck, could you get a mic to Ed quickly? One of the things we're trying to do is to better bring evidence to practice and practice to evidence, so that we're actually understanding how the brain works, what the research shows. So Ed, what are you working on at Oxford that might be helpful in this context?
So we're working at Oxford in the Department of Politics and International Relations on a global leadership project, and together with Lisa and Beck and the wonderful folks at the Better Politics Foundation, towards a 21st century political leadership lab. So gaining insights and understandings from practice, but taking these into deep research and trying to understand, okay, hope's important. What does hope mean? How do you cultivate hope in individuals, in communities, in cultures more widely? What's courage? How does that work? How does that operate? How can you strengthen it? Questions like this, but working in connection with practice in a lab context to build up political leaders and political leadership is our aim.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, so we're going to go, thank you, give a round of applause. I was really struck recently, we were with James Weinberg, who's doing fundamental research on the mental well-being of politicians. And one of the things he quoted to us is that trust in politicians comes from evidence from 3 places: integrity, competence, and benevolence. And if that's the case, then how do we screen for and help nurture and support that in our political leaders? So I'm going to ask everyone to get up in a minute. And the question that you're going to have, meet someone else new. We're here to meet new people. Why do we coach athletes and CEOs but leave our politicians to learn on the job? Now, back at that Better Leaders, Better Democracies, we did an analysis of how much money was being put into nonpartisan political training. This was about 4 years ago. And global sources, this is a bit of a soft number because there's no database for this, was around 15, you could even double it, 30, but sources said 15 million. Does anyone know what the US spent on training leadership and their corporate leaders last year? $60 billion. I'm not always saying more money is better, but $2.50 per politician before they get elected is probably an indicator of something. So get up, meet a new person, and don't surface level why. Get like 7 layers down to the why. Go. Okay, if I could get your attention. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, Hussam. Thank you, Neil. Thanks, Helen. Thank you, George. I can still see you talking. George Perloff. Everyone point to George Perloff. He has no idea. George. Still no idea. He's a New Yorker. Okay. Go ahead and move back to your seats. Did anyone have a breakthrough, crisp reason why that you feel if you don't say it now, you're going to have nightmares? Take this conversation into the breaks. So I'm going to do 2 more things and then leave you for a while, and I'll be back up at the debate. I want you to take out your phone again, and I want to remind you what we did. Told you about the democracy flywheel, how politics and government and citizens all need to work. Told you about the journey of identifying and convening and bringing people together and innovating and resourcing this movement that is growing. Most of them are less than 8 years old who are doing it outside the political system. Some are in the political system. We talked about why sort of some of the insights that are a lot of questions, but safety and well-being are important infrastructure. We need to update parties. And then I put up a wall between you. So I want you, some of you defected, some of you didn't. So I want you to take a moment and put up, and you already are, you're so good. Why? What's your takeaway? Hope, connection, curiosity. Ooh, someone has a spider web. I think that's just a web. I'm just going to read it like that. No easy answers, power imbalance, freedom, same struggles, cautious curiosity, soft skills, thought-provoking, lots of work to do. Some bricks, maybe that's infrastructure, hopefully not throwing bricks. Frustration, RE systems, nepotism, allow complexity. You have a responsibility. We're on the right path. Women, 80% of the political leadership incubators are co-founded or ran by women, so we know that there's women sort of standing up here with great men. Futility, oh boy, we got to talk to that person at the break. The DJ will help. Togetherness, caring, electricity. But hope stays in the center, and that we have the same struggles. One of our theories of change is a lot of us have the same challenges and opportunities, and can we learn faster together? So I want to end how I began by having you stand up. Again, I know, last time. It's really hard to stand up, isn't it? And you're going to free your hands. There are no more walls. And we started with the rain, and now we're going to have the sunset. Sunrise. Not the sunset, that's really bad. I hope that wasn't some weird Freudian thing. Okay, so we're going to start with our hands down, and we're going to snap. This is where that rain picks up, and then I want you to think of the buds coming through. The buds are coming through the sun is coming up, the flowers are breaking through. Don't you love in the winter when the crocuses come through? Then I want you to bring them up, and we're excited. You're going to put your hands in the air, and the sun, we're going to make a sun. And on a count of 3, we're going to end the way the storm ended with a moment of hope. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.